this season, but that started like a month ago, a month and a half ago. So now it's like been time, like legit.
Yeah, I've had time to kind of digest it and see. Because I know it's funny, when we originally started playing it, we were complaining about the circle being too slow. And then they sped it up a ton. And now I just heard there's an update coming out soon where they're actually going to go back to almost the way it was when it first came out. They're going to slow it down. So I don't even
Really?
know if we're going to like that. Yeah, I just heard about that.
Well, because it's funny because I feel like now, like last night we had like what, like 10 fucking like top 10 finishes, and each game normally I felt like before it was like top 10 would mean you're spending like probably like 30-40 minutes easy, whereas like yesterday I think we spent like 20 minutes and we were in the top 10, 25 minutes most,
Yeah.
and we were probably in the top 10 at that
You're able
point.
to get more games in, you know? And that's the thing. Like when you invest so much time into a game and then you end up not winning, whether you win or lose, I guess. I mean, if you win, you don't mind that it took longer. But when you like spend, let's say when the game first came out, it felt like you'd play a half hour, make it to the final 5 teams. And then when you lose, it's like, man, I just spent like a half hour. So it's a
Yeah.
bit of a bummer. So the way it's been, I think I agree with you. I kind of like it more because I think the circle coming in a little bit faster is kind of better because it ends up the games aren't as long. But I don't know. I should probably, you know what? Maybe while we're talking about it, I'll actually look it up on my phone.
Yeah, because I was gonna
I
say, I mean,
do
like
have an update, and they're
right
gonna adjust it.
right now I think it's perfect. I think that's like exactly because like think about with like even like Fortnite, right? Like usually, or like I mean most BRs, it's not like really just Fortnite. I guess you could say that about like PUBG. You could say that about fucking Blackout. But like most of that shit, I feel like you usually get to the end game relatively quick. Like some games take longer than others, sure, but I feel like on a general scale, it's usually like you said, like it's probably like 25 minutes. You'll get like a game in, and you could probably win in 25 minutes or less. Whereas like with this, it's
Yeah,
like 25 minutes in, you're still not even winning. Like you're still like you still have a lot to go. Like what
you're
the
still
last
looting.
circle, dude.
You
The
know,
last circle is like fucking. I think the last circle is like 3 minutes and or well, yeah, 3 minutes total, like collapse time until it's like fully
wow.
closed.
That makes sense. I didn't actually realize it, but it definitely intensifies, and that's why I think it actually makes it really fun because you can't just camp. You have to kind of keep moving unless you're lucky and you happen to be where the circle was going. But
Yeah, I mean, I think right now the game is like at a good point. I think they balance. It seems like they balance out certain weapons too, because I remember in the first season I was hitting people with the HDR and like getting guaranteed downs like almost every shot. Now I feel like it's like if I hit them, I've hit people with headshots and like not killed them.
oh
I've
yeah, 100%. Today I don't even use it that often, but I was using it today in one game, and I downed a bunch of people, but that was like about it.
That's the only thing I'll say though too. That kind of like I don't like about kind of like I guess a downside of the game is like um usually it seems like unless you're in like super close combat, like you're putting a lot of damage on people and you're killing a lot of people, but because I guess the mechanic of bringing people back is so easy, it's like
Yeah,
it's almost like it doesn't mean anything. I mean, both me and you had a game where you had 7,000 damage or something ridiculous like
yeah,
that,
like 8,000 damage or something. Yeah,
and like one kill. I had a
yeah.
game where I had 5,000 damage and I had 2 kills. Now you figure, like you said, 200 damage or whatever it is. I guess plus
At the
sheet.
most. Think about it. At any given time, if someone's got armor and health, that's 200. Unless I'm wrong, unless correct me if I'm wrong, but that's 200 health. So yeah, to end a game with 8,000 damage and only have one kill seems crazy.
It's also too
But
like I mean I like it because like obviously on our side it's like yeah you get self res, you're golden, like, and it's a great mechanic because like you can't always rely on your teammates to be right there, unfortunately. But even that like is kind of OP. Like I was talking to Jack about it, and he was saying, and I agree. Like I think like bringing people back should cost way more. Like, dude, bringing one
yeah,
person back could be so pivotal. Like even if they're just a distraction, they could fucking run out into like a line of bullets and like
yeah,
just do that. And it's like, bro, that's still enough. Like that can change the game. Like them running from fucking B to or like A to B, it's like that, and someone looks at them at that exact second and you get the shot, like that could be the game. That's everything. So like having the ability to bring people back for 4,500, I think like that's pretty broken. I think that's like
Yeah,
way
I
too
feel like they can
OP.
definitely play with that because I mean, let's be honest, man. I mean, there are games where even just me and you, like literally in the first 5 minutes of the game, we already have like $15,000 each. Like it's not necessarily. It can be hard to get money sometimes, but generally speaking, the game is designed pretty well that there is loot, there's money to get. So you're gonna have money. So let's say they raise it to 8,000. You know, like almost like that's a little less than double the price. But let's say they did 8,000. I think that's kind of reasonable. But I'm going to guess the reason it's such a low amount is because think about that. As there's less people in the game and the circle is getting smaller and smaller, this is probably their way of artificially keeping it populated. So you feel like you're not just running around and there's no one around. So when people are coming back in the game, it probably keeps a little bit more action going on in the game. And maybe that's the developers think about it like in that way, like, oh, it makes it more fun because there's more people. So I'm going to guess that's probably why. Unless they just haven't thought about it, but there have been times where it does seem kind of insane. Like you literally do a squad wipe, you wipe a team out, they go to the gulag, they come back to the same, you have to fight them again, you kill them again. Then like one of them comes back and starts buying their boys back. And then like you end up you can fight the same team like 3 times. Like that's happened to me more than once. So that can feel a little bit annoying, like what you're saying with like it's so inexpensive to buy people back. And in those predicaments, that's where it matters. Like you literally could end up fighting the same team multiple times, depending on how many guys end up coming back or how much money they have.
Okay, so go on that premise, right? You have the first 3 minutes of the game, you get $10,000, $15,000. So right now, we're saying that if I had $15,000 by myself and all 3 of you fucking died, and it could be the first 5 minutes of the game, someone like we came in, we had a crazy battle.
Back.
I can buy all of you back.
We could all lose the gulag, and you could buy us all back. Yeah,
I think that's a shit mechanic. I mean, like it's a good mechanic. It's just way too overdone. I think it's like like it's almost like a watered down version of what I really feel it should be, which is like I said, I think that's like. I think having it for like $8,000, $10,000 even, I think would be fair. Dude, it's like think about it. In all other BRs, you have to do so much to get your guy back. Like if they straight up like die, think about it, even in Fortnite, dude, you have to collect the card, you have to make it to a reboot fan. That's a process in and of itself. Or that should be a thing, man. Like if you're gonna make it so much less, make it more time consuming. Like instead of being able to just like pop their name, maybe it's something like Fortnite where you have to wait like 10, 15 seconds.
Yeah, and it's making noise telling people too. I guess there's different ways to look at it because in Fortnite, you don't have to spend money, so you bring your people back free. There is no currency in the game mode, so obviously it's not about money. But yeah, you have that disadvantage. Not only does it take a while to bring them back, but it's literally notifying anybody in the area that you're going to bring that person back. So it's a little more difficult. It's you can't even argue that. It's definitely more difficult to bring people back in Fortnite.
Or even think about PUBG.
But you can bring back all of them at once in Fortnite. Think about it like that, though. Like say all your boys die, you can literally go back and res all of them at once.
That is true, but you also have to collect their cards, and that even in and of itself has a time limit, which is which is meant to like prevent people from doing that. Like that was the whole point. That's why there's a time limit on the cards.
It's true. I would definitely argue it is kind of overboard, and they should probably do something. I would say end game though. There have been times where I'm playing, like, let's say the last quarter of the game, the last 5 minutes of the game, and I'm able to buy – actually, a game I was just playing with randoms earlier. We didn't end up winning. We came in third. But literally, I took out, like, 6, 7 people. Both of my teammates died, and I was able to run, like, literally right on the edge of the circle, kill a guy who was camping the buy station, and then I was able to buy my guys back in. And then we ended up fighting for another few minutes, taking out other teams together. So that aspect is kind of fun. It may be not fun for the teams that we're killing, but for us, it's kind of like, wow, I'm by myself, somehow made it to a buy station, even with someone camping it, killed guys who were camping it, surrounding it, and now I was able to get my guys back in the game, and we could have won. So, like, that's really fun. That's a satisfying feeling, like I'm playing this game. I'm not out yet. I can come back. I can bring my team back. So,
you know what would be actually a cool thing, too? I would deny that you're saying it. I was thinking maybe maybe for like a lot of money, like 20 or even like 30,000, like a major pool of money. Because obviously, like naturally, most people aren't going to be carrying $30,000. Like if they are, that's fucking
Yeah.
crazy. Like most people get the money and then they spend the money immediately because they don't want the other team to get the money. Like it hurts in the end. Like right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So maybe for like 20 or 30,000, you could fucking call in a buy station. Because here's the thing, right? Like while you're talking about this, I can only help but think like, well, camping buy stations, like you're saying that one guy was doing, it's so overdone in that game. Like that's become a main thing in that game. Is like, dude, there's people who literally just go to main
and they
like hotspot areas
Yep.
and then they camp the buy station for that exact reason because they know like, oh, people are gonna like buy loadout drops, they're gonna fucking call people in, whatever. And it's like, dude, that kind of hurts the progress of the game because people aren't being as like
they're not involved. They're not engaged in the combat. They're
not
just,
at all. No, they're just gonna sit back and watch. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's a very big exploitation, like, and that's why I feel like, dude, if you could have like an option to like, obviously, like I said, if you were gonna like, you know, it seems kind of counterintuitive, right? You go to a buy station, then you buy a buy station, but it's like, dude, late game, that could be the coolest thing ever. Like, be able to call in a fucking buy station, like the little box that drops and opens up, and you could be able to like give your teammates the ability to buy shit late in the game, as opposed to like, you know, a lot of times it's just.
You know what I think would be better? It's a random item on the map, and it's like very rare, like not easy to find at all. I think that would be even cooler.
Yeah,
honestly.
That works too. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, something even like that would be even doper because then it's like something that's not easily accessible. Because even though yes, 30,000 is a lot, like we were talking about, like early in the game, you could accumulate a lot of money very quickly, and then just like, oh, you know, we all could essentially, and then we could just be like, oh, like throw 10,000, I'll throw 10, like 10,000, whatever. We buy this. Whereas opposed to like you're saying, if it's super rare, then it's like, dude, that would be awesome. Kind of like
the llamas in Fortnite.
Yeah,
kind of like
exactly.
That, like random drop. The only thing I'm thinking about too is like me and your perspective. I would say we're kind of hardcore gamers. We're not really casual gamers per se. And I'm not even going to say I'm like that great at Warzone, but I'm just thinking in my head now, like we're having this conversation about the money and buying people in. There's a lot of casual players in these games too, like whether it's Fortnite or Warzone, that I know they still at the end of the day, they have to cater to these people to a certain degree because they need to have fun and be able to enjoy themselves. And like, imagine if you raise it up to 10,000. And then like think about someone who's not that good and they're kind of like just playing with their buddies, trying to have fun. And like now it's so hard for them to get somebody back in. So I think there's probably other perspectives. Like there's things we don't think about that the developers are probably thinking about for different kinds of gamers. Mm-hmm. But obviously me and you are hardcore. So we're going to give our perspective. So our perspective is going to be from a hardcore perspective. But at the same time, I also don't want to forget there are a lot of people that aren't as good as us, or at the very least don't play it as much as us. So they don't know all these things. Like even me, like I'm not even super good at the game, but I could probably collect a crap ton of money in the beginning. I've watched some of, even my friends, I'm not going to name anybody, but some of my friends that I play with, and the way that they move around the map and they get, like, it might take them 15, 20 minutes to get even $10,000. So yeah, I think probably Infinity Ward, you know, the developers are probably thinking about these people as well when they make those decisions. Because they can't only make it for us, you know, because then that's true for them. You know,
that's true. So, I just feel like though too, it's like, dude, think about like, all right, so think about Fortnite in its prime was probably, and I mean for a lot of reasons, probably still is like the most like widely recognized game. Everybody played it, kind of thing, right? Like, yeah. And at that point in Fortnite, it was the apex of like games at the time, and it held that throne for a very long time.
I mean, it's still got to be like up there, right? I mean,
it's
I don't know what the top game is right now, but it might be Fortnite for all I know.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing is like, so that's what I'm saying. Like Fortnite is so big, but if Fortnite is at its apex, which I would say was probably like 2 or 3 years ago, where like literally you could go down your fucking friends list and like look at every single person and it'd be like Fortnite Battle Royale, Fortnite.
It was like Halo Royale
lobby,
day,
like,
you know?
Yes, yeah. Everybody's playing it. So what I'm getting at is even at that point, Fortnite was at a stage where you weren't able to buy people back at all. There was no fucking like.
And it was still popular, yeah.
And it was so popular, and I think people really gravitated towards that. Granted, though, we're also talking about a game with a totally different dynamic, right? It's much easier to
building.
stay alive in Fortnite than it is in
Yeah,
Warzone.
you make your cover. You make your defense. Yeah.
So yeah, so like the survivability of somebody was entirely based on, you know, how quickly you could build a wall. You know, obviously we're talking about a Fortnite that's much older, like at a different stage. So it's like people back then also weren't playing. The general player wasn't as good as they are now, not even by a fucking like
No.
beginning of a margin. Like
Even me,
so,
I'm bad, but I'm way better than I was. Like if I played me from 2 years ago, it wouldn't
yeah,
have been a chance, you know.
yeah. But so like that's why like I feel like even though I get that they're trying to cater, I feel like, bro, it's like that's kind of the point of the battle royale. Or like, dude,
Yeah.
even if you know what, like you could even have a nice middle ground and just be like, dude, everybody gets capped out at 3 returns.
That makes the most sense. Well, why is it unlimited? Yeah, I would say 3 is probably fair, maybe even 2. 2 or 3, that's it.
That could totally change.
Or maybe after that, it's an insane amount of money. Like, okay, after you've brought this guy back twice, now it's like 15,000 to bring him back or something.
Yeah. Or yeah, you could do it like that. Every time you buy someone back, the money that it costs to bring them back could double. So that way you like create the incentive. Because think about it. I mean, even now, right? Like we totally abuse that system. How many times do like we're in late game and like I have like a ton of fucking money. I'm gonna have like 23,000, right? And like let's say we're playing trios even like, and now I have enough money to buy you back, buy whoever else back if they're dead, and get like self-res and all types of shit. I'm saying like, you know what? Like think about it. How many times do I bring you back? And immediately you're like, I'll take the chance. Even though I just got brought back, I would rather take the chance because I know you have the money and I know you can bring me back right away. I'll just go to the loadout drop. I'll drop way away from you just so I can get weapons, and I'll be willing to take those risks because I know that it's a lot easier for you to get me back. So it's like the risk factor is not really involved, and I think for a battle royale, it's so much of that. So much of the battle royale and like the experience of it is predicated on like the risks you're willing to take and like timing, right? And like, but like with a game like that where it's so easily exploitable, where you just, it really depends on the kind of money you have, which in theory could be nothing based on the amount of combat you've seen, right? I mean, you could collect tons of money and never see anybody. So it's like,
yeah, that happens.
I don't know, man. I just feel like you come back in and it's like, fuck it, I'll take a chance. Like, what does it matter? You can buy me right back for the same amount of money. If you had like that kind of system where it's like, whether there's a cap or it doubles every time, then it's like, dude, the incentive to take those risks is very like it's like that much less. Like now people aren't going to do that. They're going to come right back to their team. They're going to play really conservative, do what they have to do to survive.
But is that going to lead to more like, camping and more like annoying type of gameplay?
I feel like yes and no. Like, I guess it's always going to depend on the squad, though. It's always going to be like, I hate to say it, but I think in most cases you talk about like defensive versus offensive or like aggressive versus conservative. Like there's always going to be those types of players, and unfortunately for the aggression, I feel like the aggression usually is a better way to go about it than the defensive and the conservative. Yes, there are perks to camping.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But being advantageous and like being like, okay, like I'll push that mountain, like whatever, like taking high ground, like it's just shit like that. I feel like usually that like I don't know, the outcome is really that much better for people who are willing to do that shit. So you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I feel like no matter how.
Not to mention, at the end of the game, as that circle pushes in, you're going to have to play more aggressive anyway. So if you're good at that and you practice that, and that's kind of how you play, you're going to be a lot better in those situations. If you're one of those camping teams, you might always make it to the last 5 teams, but you're probably not going to win if that's how you always play. Yeah. But
I feel like a passive aggressive like approach in battle royales is probably the best. I think is the best thing to do. Like, and I don't mean like not ever fighting or kind of just always chilling back. I just mean picking your battles, you know, like
pick your battles for sure. And like we spoke about too, like there's kind of a way that you have to play. Like when you start, like in the beginning of a game, sticking together, I think is the most important thing you can do. And if you don't stick together, I think you'll realize that most of the times you lose early on, it's because you weren't sticking together. Like you're either by yourself or let's say someone else is by themselves. They run into a team of people that are sticking together. Now you got to go bail them out. Or let's say I'm the dummy who was running off by myself. Now I'm I'm either dead or I'm screaming to you guys to come help me. But now we're all coming in one at a time. We're not going to all get there at the same time. And it's just like you're getting 2 or 3v1 until your team is gone. And like that happens all the time. So like sticking together early game, super important. Then I would say somewhere after the beginning of the game, let's say middle of the game, that's when you're going to be doing a lot of looting. And like you just said, you're going to be picking your battles. Okay, am I going to get aggressive and go after this team, try to take them out, try to get their loot? Because here's the other thing. Sometimes one of the best ways to make money is to just kill other players. Instead of looting around and running to 100 different, spots, let's take that team out. That's going to give us money now that we can use to buy stuff we need. And then end game, I think everyone kind of plays a little more conservative end game. But like you were talking about playing aggressive, like that's what wins the game. So in that last kind of stage of the game, you're going to be playing a little conservative and defensive, and as that circle is getting tighter and tighter. But when the cover runs away and you're all getting pushed together, that aggressive gameplay is really where you're going to end up winning that game.
Yeah.
So you got to kind of learn all those dynamics and meld it all together. And it is a very good game. Like if we're going to touch on like what I think about the game, I think it's in a very good place. I don't think it's perfect. I think even some of the enemies, like I feel like I'll empty an entire magazine to people and they don't go down. Not as bad as Blackout. Blackout, I feel like with the armor and Blackout, it could take forever to down people. This is a little bit more fair, but I feel like the armor situation can be a little annoying. That's one little critique. Another critique, like you said, is bringing people back in. It's either you can do it too many times, there should be a limit on it, or it should be more money. Bringing people back in is too easy. And the other thing is vehicles. They got to do something with the vehicles, because people being able to drive around in these vehicles and just run people over. And like, I think that's abused and I think it's annoying. RPGs, I think they got to do something with that. Because people are using the heck out of those.
Fucking annoying.
Obviously, we could talk about the dual revolvers. Those are way OP.
Dude,
right
that
now.
is like the stupidest thing in the entire game.
Yeah, let's get the negatives out of the way, and I'll wrap back around to the positives. So, yeah, dude, take it.
Okay, that is by far, like, right now, is the most broken thing in the game. You turn on, whatever it's called, like, fucking snake shot, or there's, like, a mod you put on the Magnum, and then, like, the neck, it's not that far down the line, you get dual wield. And so long as you have those two things, you literally can, like, destroy anybody close range. They could have a 725, which obviously for the longest time was like revered as like the scariest fucking gun in the game. It was way too OP. They nerfed it into the ground, and now it's like what? So you nerf that gun into the ground, but then you make this, and that's even worse, dude. I've literally gotten, it's only hip fire, and I've gotten hit from like 10, 15 yards out and gotten like auto down
from
for
200
fucking
health, right?
Yeah, like
full armor,
or like either like two or three plates, and gotten like hit in a way. And obviously, yes, it could be like luck based, where it's like, okay, like, fucking whatever. They landed like 2 really good headshots with each gun, but it's like, dude, that shouldn't be the case. Like, we're talking
I don't
about.
think they are, dude. Honestly, I mean, I've seen clips online, and I know how I've been. They're not always headshots. They're not.
No, and that's what I mean. Like, dude, like, there's no way. So like, why? Like, I don't know. I just feel like, to introduce something that OP, and from past games with hip-fire dual-wield weapons, in particular, MW3, I forgot what the SMG was called. You had those. So there was like a dual-wield SMG. It was by far the most broken thing in the game. And then prior to that, in Modern Warfare 2, you had the akimbo fucking models, and that was broken. That was like the dumbest fucking thing in the game. You were able to do the exact same thing, snipe people with them, from like way far out for no reason, did stupid amount of damage. Like, it's just like that kind of thing. I feel like that's bad balancing. You don't nerf something that's really good to make something that's really good. Like,
well, here's what they'll do. What their next step is going to be. It'll be there for a couple, and then they'll nerf the heck out of that, where it's completely useless, and now no one uses it, and they move on to something else that, sadly, that's kind of the state of all video games. It seems like it's like that's a common problem.
But I always thought that was so stupid, because I always feel like, dude, if you're gonna like instead of nerfing something, why not just buff everything else? Buff everything else so it's an adequate level, because the problem is like there's this unbalance, right? Like, where it's like this gun's this good, this gun's this good, this gun's this good, and then there's this gun, and this gun is super fucking good, and that for whatever reason kind of like creates the meta in which people play, right? But then the second that that main thing gets dropped down, it's like these other bars, these other levels essentially are like now that much better or for whatever, or just relatively speaking. But it's like, dude, if you just buff that enough where now, like, they don't have to be the exact same level. There could be strengths and weaknesses to guns, as all guns do have, but like level it out a bit, right? So like you bring the status of one thing up enough and you bring the status of other things up enough where they could be kind of at a median, right? Like, yeah, this gun will be better in these situations. Whereas like, no, there are just guns right now where it's like there's no reason to use anything else. Like you just use that and it's perfect. Like,
well, let's talk. I mean, how many guns are in Call of Duty Warzone? But like you see the same, like, let's say 5 weapons that people use. It's like the HDR for sniping, it's the M4 for an assault rifle, it's the MP5 for submachine gun. Like, you only kind of have like 5 to 10 weapons that people really use. Everything else is kind of like everybody's like, I'm not really going to use that. And that's probably because the weapons aren't really balanced that well. If you have all these weapons that are so much better, like, it's pretty obvious which the guns people play with. You know what I mean? Like, it's it's very clear.
The FAL was like a gun that I thought was like, I told you, I was trying to like find something that was like auger-like, something that like was going to be good, something similar to like that same play style where I could like spam and kind of be anti-snipe. Like, I'm not sniping per se. I'm just, that's such a good.
Well, what I've been calling is using it kind of like a marksman rifle. Even though it's an assault rifle, you're kind of using it the way you would use the EBR. You're kind of using it in that way, which is kind of what I'm doing with the M4 with the SILCOM rounds. Same kind of principle.
But that's the thing is, so like, even trying, like, I tried so hard to find that, and then when I first tried the FAL, I was like, oh, like, I don't know, like, whatever reason, like, I was like, oh, this isn't really like the way I thought it was.
Maybe there was an update, man. I don't know, because I agree with you. It feels different now. Like, I've used it a couple times now, and like, I like it. It's formidable, man. Like, it does work.
Yeah, dude. And that's the thing is, like, now, with what seems like a I guess better DPS. I don't know if they buffed it at all.
I wonder what they did. It feels like they did something. Maybe I'm crazy. I don't know. But
I'm saying, so like, now think about that. So if two, like, okay, so maybe it's just a common thing between you and I. You're like, oh, like, I noticed it, whatever. But I'm saying, like, regardless, right? If it's like, at least you can look at the weapon and be like, yo, there's no like way you can look at this and like watch the gameplay and be like, okay, that's not really good. Like, or at least it does some kind of work. So it like you said, is formidable enough. Like, I'm going to consider using this weapon instead of I'm going to run the HDR.
I think there needs to be more of that across the game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I feel like the Odin, like, I wanted to get into that gun. It's tough. I think when you put that, what's that suppressor?
Monolithic suppressor?
Yeah, when you put that on it, I kind of feel like, okay, I can use this weapon with that. But it's like, there are certain weapons where it's like, it's really tough to get into them, if not like pointless. Like, you feel like it's pointless.
Well, yeah, because there's other weapons that do it. There's other weapons that just do it better.
Way better.
Like, why would you run why would you run the MP5 or like whatever, the P90, when you could run, you know, the
MP5 or MP7?
MP5 or MP7, because they're just like way too OP. Or the Uzi. The Uzi's fucking great. Like,
I will say the Uzi, even like that's one of the best like naked guns to get in the beginning of the game with no attachments, man. I do work with that thing.
I love the Uzi. Good. I love, like, that's the thing too. It
feels nice. The recoil, everything.
I don't usually try to pay attention to meta shit too much, because I feel like that ruins your like view on the game. Like, I feel like if you pay too much attention to the statistical values of things, I feel like it can take away from the experience, because then you start basing everything on that, whereas opposed to like, or you were basing things on the way you like them. And I think in all games, it's very true. Like, even though things by stats can be better, there are things where if you, for whatever reason, it could just be an affinity you have to like a weapon or a character or whatever. Usually that pays off more than just using a gun because it's widely used and it's good. Like, picking a gun that fits your play style, I think, is the best. I always say that though. Like, dude, I've always said that, because I'm like even in Blackout, right? Like, I played that like super hardcore fucking like.
I played it quite a bit myself. Yeah, man.
Like, and it was like a really big game for me. That was probably like by far right now is the game I've spent the most time on. Like, definitely like by a mile. And in terms of like battle royales, and like even then, like when I play with people and I play with, you know, like how it used to be, like in Blackout, we'd have like crazy amounts of people in our party. So I was playing with all different types of people.
Randoms,
And
everything. Yeah.
yeah. So, and even then I would tell people, I'd be like, yo, like, don't pick a weapon that like, don't pick a weapon just because it's good. Like, pick the weapon that you feel the most comfortable with, because I feel like that's the best. Like,
that was like me with the ABR. I mean, they eventually kind of like nerfed it a little bit. Like at one point, maybe you could say it was OP. Some people would say it was OP, but I would say even before it became popular and people thought it was OP, I was using the ABR pretty much since the game came out. And I always loved that weapon when you put all the attachments on it. That thing was awesome.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, you kind of gotta. Everybody will, dude. The PKM. I used to use the PKM a ton in Modern Warfare. Like I'll be honest, I haven't really been using it recently, so I don't know where it's at. I don't know, did they update anything, change anything? But I was using that for a really long time, and I really liked it. So maybe I actually, now that I'm thinking about that, I almost want to like go back and try that gun.
LMGs are good though, and I don't like give them the love I think like that I should, because like. I don't know, like it's a mobility thing for me. That's just the kind of player I am.
Yeah.
I don't like feeling weighed down.
And you definitely do. And the aim down time, aim down sights time, that, you know, like, yeah, you could do attachments that kind of help negate the aim down sight time a little bit, but then like it's so, the recoil is crazy or the aim is so crazy that it makes it not worth it. You're like, okay, I'd rather just use a submachine gun.
But then again, that kind of like falls right back into the same argument. Like, why even use that shit? If I could just use the M4, it doesn't matter. Like
dude, the M4 is so versatile, dude. You could do 50, 60 round mags. You could do a 10 round SOCOM. So, dude, you can use that thing almost as a submachine gun if you rip the stock off of it and do a 60 round mag. Or you could do the 32 round 9mm mags. Can't you too in that? I mean, the M4 is so versatile in that game. You can literally like almost just use an M4. You could use like 4 different variants of the M4 and you wouldn't need anything else.
No, that's exactly it. That's what I'm saying. It's so good. There's no point in using like anything else.
Yeah.
Like,
which I mean, I guess that's cool, but like you're saying, it's kind of a bad thing too, because now we never get to use these other weapons.
And then there's no point to like, okay. So like, I didn't know this. There was like a weird setup I had just found out about. And this was like prior to the update. So I don't know what it is now, but I know prior to this, like this last update, they did, I've seen like a couple people doing it online, and they were taking the M13 and then they were fucking throwing a sniper scope on it. And I don't know what and I don't know what configuration of attachments they had, but they would have it where it was like legit a laser. So all you had to do was like trace your target and you were going to put them down. Like, no doubt.
Wow.
Like,
while firing, you mean?
Yeah, straight up, like
full
auto. Full auto, just, and I think it has like same thing. I think it comes 60 round mags capable. It's just like, dude, I don't know, like there's that, and that's cool, right? So like that was kind of like a discovery, which I do like about this game. There's so many options for attachments. It really does give you that customization of like, it really feels like you're building your weapon, which I love. But then we look down at the base stats of a weapon, and then that's where the argument comes right back, where it's like, I'm not trying to look at the stat value, but dude, you look at the M4 and you compare it to like any other fucking weapon, and it's like everything is worse. Everything is worse.
But even if you get away from the stats, like, dude, like the Kilo, I was using the Kilo for a while with, I forget exactly what, but I was using it pretty much as a mid-range setup is how I had it, all the attachments set up on it. And I was using it for like a week or two, and I was like, it was okay. But then I went right back to the M4 because it was like, you could just feel it. Forget the stats. You could just feel it while you're playing. Yeah. Like, it's just not like I'm wasting my time with this gun.
Which builds the affinity too. You know, like that's going to make you, like, if you find success with a weapon, and like I'm saying, like, you could have no fucking idea what the meta is and jump in and be like, oh, I'm going to, whatever. Like, I like the M4. I've liked the M4. I'm going to use the M4 and not know that it's the best weapon of the game. But naturally, because you're going to find success with it and you're going to be like, wow, like, this is good, you know, then you're going to probably fuck with the M4. So it's like just naturally you'll be more inclined, even without any prior knowledge, you'll probably be more inclined to use an M4 than you would like anything else.
Yeah, you know? And like I get it. Like every game kind of needs that go-to beginner weapon, but like this game, it's not like you evolve from the M4. Like it evolves with you, and again, there's like two parts of me. Like part of me think that's really cool, and another part of me is like it's kind of a shame that we're just like only using 5 guns. Thanks for popping in, everybody. Hope you liked what you heard. We're going to get better as we go. We're new to this. This is our first run. Kind of just 2 guys like video games, like beer, like talking about whatever. Hopefully you guys can relate, you enjoy it, and we're going to get better as we go.